Okay, so today we're going to be talking about integer basics. And this should go on page 51 in your notebook. First thing we want to talk about is what is a number line. Alright, a number line is used to describe the location of a value. So, for example, on a number line I can put some values here. And I can tell you where my number is. So, as a review, numbers to the right of my 0 are all positive numbers. Numbers to the left of my 0 are negative numbers. So, to my right, the numbers continue on forever and ever, and to my left, the numbers go on forever. Both ways. Alright? So a number line is going to tell me where the value is. What is an integer? An integer is a set of all whole numbers and their opposites, including 0. There are no fractions. Okay? And integers are not decimals. So if a value has a decimal in it or a fraction in it, it is not an integer. So an integer is going to be whole numbers only and their opposites. 0 is also an integer. So circle all the integers. Well, 3/4 is not an integer because it's a fraction. 5 is an integer because it's a whole number, it's positive. Negative 17 is an integer because it's a negative whole number. Negative 4/10 is not an integer because it's a decimal. 103 is an integer because it's a whole number. Negative 1 4/7 is not an integer because it has a fraction with it. Negative 41 is an integer because it's a negative whole number, and 0 is an integer because it's a whole number. And 0 is included. So positive versus negative numbers. Positive numbers, numbers greater than 0. Okay? On a number line, positive numbers are to the right of 0. And some key words that tell me it's a positive number is gain. So as far as gaining weight or gaining money. Above sea level means it's above the where land meets water, or at ground zero. Above sea level is going to be a positive number. Up, rise, increase, and deposit. Deposit is probably a new word. Okay? Deposit means, think about a bank account. Deposit means you are adding money to your bank account. So if you're adding money to your bank account and depositing money in your bank account, you're gonna it's positive. Okay? Alright, so negative numbers less than 0. And on the number line, negative numbers are to the left of 0. And some key words about negative numbers: if you have a loss of something, let's say you lost weight, so it's a negative. Below, or if you lost money. Below sea level, so that means it's underwater, if it's or under the ground, okay, is below sea level. Down, decrease, and withdrawal. That's another word you probably didn't hear about. So when I'm talking about withdrawal, that I'm talking about a bank account. Think about it. If I withdraw money from a bank account or a savings account, that means I'm taking money out. So that means I don't have the money anymore. So that would be a negative value. Okay? 0 is neither positive or negative. Okay? So it doesn't have a negative sign or a positive sign in it, and it's just 0. So 0, when we're referring to 0, we're at sea level. Alright? So if I drew the earth, here's sea level. Okay, here's below sea level. Here, I think about where the water meets the land. Okay, here's 0. above sea level here. Could be mountains. Excuse my drawing. And below would be underneath the ground. Okay? So at sea level is that I think about as ground zero. There's water, sea level. Alright, origin. Think about, when I'm talking about origin, okay, when you have a coordinate grid, the origin is in the middle, right? That's zero. So when the vertical axis meets the horizontal axis, that's the origin. Okay, that's zero. Alright, what are opposites? Opposites are numbers that are the same distance from zero. Two exact numbers with different signs. So that means one's positive and one's negative. We also talked about a little bit about opposites in our warm-up this week. If a number is positive, its opposite will be negative. If a number is negative, its opposite will be positive. The opposite of zero is zero. So zero, the opposite of zero is just zero. Okay? Again, zero is not positive or negative. So some examples, the opposite of negative 8 would be positive 8. The opposite of 10 would be negative 10. The opposite of negative 15 would be positive 15. So remember, opposites are going to have the same distance from zero. So negative 8 is 8 away from 0. 8 is also 8 away from 0. Same distance. Absolute value. So don't confuse. We also talk about absolute value this week in our warm-up. So absolute value. Don't confuse opposites with absolute value. Absolute value is the distance. Okay. An integer is from 0. Remember, I told you that distance is always positive. So that means the absolute value of any value inside those absolute value symbols is always positive. So if I have a positive number inside my absolute value symbols, it's going to be positive. If I have a negative number inside my absolute value symbols, it's going to be positive. So any number in absolute value form will be positive. Okay? And that's spelled positive. There's an exception, however. Okay? Only if the negative sign is outside of the absolute value symbol. That's when my value will be negative. So if I cover up the negative sign outside my outside my absolute value symbol, if I take the absolute value of 3 or positive 3, well, the absolute value of positive 3 is going to be 3. And all I'm going to do is bring down this negative sign. So I'm saying this is really what it means. It's going to be a mouthful. You're saying you're taking the opposite of the absolute value of positive 3. That's what you're doing. So you're taking the absolute value of positive 3, and then you're taking the opposite of it. That negative symbol means outside the absolute value symbols, right? So that's going to be 3. Same with this one. You notice there's a negative symbol outside, even though I have a negative symbol inside, but I'm looking at it outside. So I'm going to cover that up first. So the opposite of negative 16, remember, any value inside those absolute value symbols is going to be positive. So the absolute value of negative 16 is positive 16. Then I'm going to bring down that negative. So I'm saying this is the opposite of the absolute value of negative 16. Alright? So negative 16 is the answer. So some examples, the opposite value of negative 5 would be 5. Absolute value of positive 5 would be 5. Absolute value of negative 400 is 400. And of course, you can take the absolute value of each number and then add them together. So the absolute value of 2 is 2, and the absolute value of negative 8 is 8. So 2 and 8 is 10. So that's absolute value. Alright, the next thing we're going to be talking about is how do you compare integers. You can use a number line to compare each pair of integers. Alright, so remember, it just says in a review, numbers increase in value as you move left to right. So again, if you put a 0 here, all the numbers to the left of 0 are negatives, and they're going to decrease in value. Even though they look big, but if they're negative, they're going to decrease in value if they go to the left of 0. And of course, any number to the right of 0 is going to increase in value or get bigger. Okay? So, examples, -4 and -7. Well, -4 is going to be much closer than -5. -5 is going to be beyond the, -4 is going to be greater than -7. So if I continued this number line, here's -7. -7 is much further from 0 than -4. So if they're both negative, you want to, the number that's closer to 0 is going to be greater. So -4 is going to be greater. -25 and 0. 0 is going to be greater. Again, the further, if you're comparing 0 and a negative number, 0 is always going to be bigger. -3 and -4. So -3 is going to be much closer to 0 than -4. So -3 is going to be greater. If your comparative number and a positive number, the positive number is always going to be greater. Alright? Okay. How do you order integers? You can use the number line if you need to. So you can plot the numbers that you have to order on the number line, and then you can read the numbers left. You're going to read the numbers left to the right. Okay? So if I wanted to put ascending order is going to be least to greatest. Okay? And descending order is greatest to least. Okay? And I can put these on the number line if I wanted to. So if I put 0, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, -1, -2, -3, -4, and -5. So if I plotted these on the number line, so -2, and then -3, 6, if I extend this as a 6, 5, and then -4. So if I want to do least to greatest, I'm going to read the numbers from left to right. So the least number is going to be the furthest negative number. So I would write it as -4, -3, no, sorry, -3, -2. So I'm just going to write the numbers that I plotted, or the original values that I need to order. -2, and then 5, and then 6. So those are all from least to greatest, or ascending order. And then descending order is the greatest to least. So I want to find the greatest number. So obviously the greatest number would be the greatest positive number. So the greatest positive, here's my positives, 12, 1, and 5. Well, the greatest positive number is 12. And the next greatest positive number is 5. And then 1. And then I'm comparing -8 and -6. -6 is going to be greater than -8 because -6 is closer to 0. And then -8. Okay? So what you're going to do, and it's only going to take a few more minutes after you watch this video, is you need to go ahead and complete your time to shine. So this is only going to take you about 2, maybe 5 minutes tops to do this. This is really easy. So make sure you have completed this section only. Okay, you're not doing the classwork side on the other side, but just do the your time to shine, and be prepared to talk about integers when you come into class. So have a fantastic day.